Welcome back to the Pot of Greed.
Welcome back indeed to episode 101.
That's right, guys. We're going to learn you something today.
Yeah, the only podcast on the internet.
The only podcast about education, because this is the Pot of Greed 101.
Yeah.
And the tuition will be one membership.
Yeah, that's how you apply.
That's how
one YouTube channel membership. But before all that, we have to get the most important part out of the way.
Put your ones up.
That's right. Ones in chat if you're listening to the premiere.
Premiere gang, rise up.
And if you're not, well, what's wrong with you, first of all?
Well, I think a lot of people watch this podcast at like specific points in their day where they just have the time to just listen and do whatever they got to do. So
Yeah.
I get it I get it.
They're allowed to do that. But you do still have to like the video, give a 5-star
even if you're not in the
review,
premiere, like it, review, leave a comment.
And you still have to become a channel member. That's non-negotiable.
And share one of my horrible takes with a family member you care about.
Yeah, get them riled up too. Yeah, so it's another week. I just got back from YCS Houston, which was a really fun event. I can talk about that some. And then we have some really cool like gaming stories and just other stuff to share.
A bunch of other things. We can get right into it. I'll let you guys know right now, I was not able to go to YCS Houston too.
Yeah, it was unfortunately Alec couldn't be there. There were some people who really missed him because a lot of people said that they liked the pod, and that was cool. Oh, yeah, real quick before we get into that too, we do have a review for the week that I'm going to share, but I'm saving it to the end of the pod because it's kind of a different review. It is a more critical review, and I figured that we could use that as an opportunity to like address this person's critiques and concerns.
Okay.
And all that.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
Anyway, this weekend was YCS Houston in Houston, Texas, of course. I was there. Alec was not. He doesn't love you guys. I do.
We're not going to start that narrative.
But
I love being in Houston. I just couldn't make it this time.
But it was really fun. Got to meet a lot of people. This was my first YCS event in over 5 years, if you can believe that.
Wow.
The last event I think we went to was YCS Dallas 2019, so also in Texas. And it was refreshing to finally kind of go back to the YCS scene. I guess I've just been away from it for a while, and it was cool to see like that. So a lot has changed, but also a lot kind of hasn't really changed.
Well, I know you're not carrying a Steam Deck, so I guess you didn't win.
Yeah, I didn't win. I actually didn't even play in the main event, if you can believe it. I was planning on doing that, but I wasn't able to get a few of the cards that I needed in time, and so I ended up just mostly playing in public events all weekend, which was actually just as much fun. I won some really cool stuff. I entered Winamats, I entered a regional qualifier, I entered a couple of Master Duel events, and eventually I won one of the Master Duel events and got this awesome playmat that I'm like struggling to show on camera, but hopefully you guys can see.
Oh, that's a gold Pride monster. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, Captain Carey.
That's it.
And and so anyway, that's really cool. It's kind of this oversized mouse pad, actually. It's meant to be like a desk sort of mouse pad.
It feels kind of thin for that. But
apparently those Master Duel playmats are worth a fair bit because not that many people actually enter in the Master Duel side events. They don't really know that they're even at YCSs, and you have to play with your phone. That's what most people were using. It was like we were all just sitting there at tables across from each other using our smartphones. There was one guy who brought his Switch at one of the events, and he wasn't able to play because his game wasn't updated or something. Like his Switch wasn't updated or something, and he couldn't update it in time to.
Well, he would need to get Wi-Fi at a YCS.
Play. Yeah, and then also another guy used his laptop to play, and another one of the ones I played in. But he ran into the problem that there just wasn't actually any internet.
Yeah.
So, which I have to say that if you guys are going to be doing like Master Duel events at YCSs, maybe have like some hotspot that people can use for it.
But I feel like it's such a new thing for these YCS events. I could see that slipping someone's mind because it makes sense to have it, but they're not used to it.
Yeah, and playing the game on your phone is kind of stressful. Master Duel, it works fine on the phone, but like it's not really a game where you want to just be like sliding stuff with your finger. You kind of want the precision of like mouse kind of clicking and so that can be kind of crazy, but it was really fun. All of my side events were fun. I ended up
share with us your winning run. Like how'd it go? Like what did you play?
Well, the first one I played in, I ended up having to face Jesse Cotton in the finals of my 8-man Master Duel thing. It was crazy. This was on Saturday.
Tournament and you faced the GOAT?
Yeah. So what basically happened was I was signing up for it, and they were saying like, yeah, this might not even fire today. We've barely had anybody sign up for this. I was like the 4th person to sign up, and they needed a minimum of 4 to do it, but really they like kind of want to have 8. And then finally we got 8 people, and then like Jesse Cotton just comes walking out of the bathroom with some, I guess, friends of his or whatever, and he's just like, yeah, I'm entering this because I dropped from the main event, because this weekend at the main YCS event he was challenging himself by playing 3 Blue Eyes structure decks at the event.
Oh God!
Because when you're as good as Jesse Cotton, like honestly,
that's true. Anyone
these are just side events for him. Like he's just side quests or whatever. Like he's just having fun. So yeah, it's like a challenge thing I think he's doing for his channel. To see like how far can I get with like literally just 3 Blue Eyes structures. I guess the answer is not terribly far, but anyway. So it was fun. I ended up facing him in the finals of that tournament. So first I had to go through a couple of other people. And he was playing like a Bestial Fiendsmith Red Eyes Metalmorph thing, which was fun.
Oh, Jesus.
The Metalmorph deck kind of sucks, but when you add in strong supporting engines, it can suddenly be kind of scary because, you know, they can still make like this big Omni-Negate guy. And so, yeah, he pretty soundly beat me. I mean, they were close games, but yeah, that was really scary. And so he got that mat, and I was upset. But the next day I was able to enter another Master Duel event, and I was able to come out on top and played against like 3 other very good people.
So you had to duck him to win.
Yeah, basically. Jesse's really very good. It's kind of crazy like just how, you know, just frighteningly knowledgeable and like thoughtful he is about just the way that he plays. Yeah, I've recorded some videos and stuff with him before, and I know that he just cerebral guy. Also real Yu-Gi-Oh lover. Like Jesse Cotton really likes Yu-Gi-Oh! And I say that distinction because, like, you know, some people, like, only really maybe like the modern format or only really just kind of want to win. They're not, you know. But, like, Jesse, he plays, like, all the formats. He loves drafting, cubes, battle pack, like, GOAT, Edison, anything. Like, he will play any Yu-Gi-Oh! And enjoy it. So that's my GOAT. Anyway, so I did win that Captain Carry mat. I entered some win-a-mat events, was not able to win any of them. I mean, I won some games and like rounds, but the cool part about all of the side events was that I met a lot of fans and got to play against them. So that was fun. Like sometimes we meet people at these events and we just, you know, everybody kind of would like to have a duel, but there's just not the time or something. You're in the middle of something. Yeah. But it was cool getting to like play against people.
I remember trying to fit in fan games between rounds at regionals and YCSs.
Yeah, it never
so
really
often
works.
We could not finish them.
This doesn't really work. But this was cool because I got to have some really close, tense games. Honestly, shout out to the Side Deck. That's the, I guess, company, game shop, whatever, that Konami partners with to run these YCS events. They have sort of changed the way that like the YCS entry method goes. Like you sign up online now on their website. You enter your deck list through their website. The interface for entering a deck list is a little clunky, but like it is cool that it's digital. So once you have a deck list in, you can then use that same deck list to sign up for like multiple events throughout the weekend.
Oh, that's convenient.
So if you're doing like a side event grind, I did Attack of the Giant card as well.
I don't see another giant card in here, so I can guess how that went.
Yeah, didn't win that. Didn't win that. I mean, you know, won a couple of rounds of it, but did not make it all the way to the end. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. My only small complaint, and I posted about this on social media as well, so people maybe know, I do not love the entry pricing that they give for these side events. So, you know, it's like $5, or it's like, side events are usually like $15 or something to enter. Like a win-a-mat's $15. Okay. And you get a pack for every $5 that you pay to enter any of these things. They were giving out Duelist Nexus.
Oh.
Yeah, not the best. And I think for the one Master Duel event we were playing in, the one that Jesse was in, we all got Genesis Impact.
Oh, geez.
Which just was even older and worse. Like, you know,
why
for those,
couldn't you guys get cards from
Supreme
this year?
Darkness, yeah. So you guys, for maybe those who don't know, Duelist Nexus is a fairly old set now. It came out in like kind of mid 2023. It was historically or infamously the set that ended up causing some card shops to stop stocking Yu-Gi-Oh singles.
People did not
because it just was not a very well received set. But I remember boxes getting is like under $40 in what shops were selling them for that much just to try to get them off the shelves. So I found it a little bit unpleasant that they are just kind of using these side events to offload these packs to people. But
I guess someone's got to do
take
something with them. Like,
yeah. And I say that not as like, a criticism of like, I mean, I know the packs got to go somewhere, right? Like every other part of it was great though. Like, the staff, super helpful, very friendly. The events were fun. Everything was run on time. There's plenty of space. Like,
I looked it up. You can currently buy a Duelist Nexus box for $39.95.
Yeah, so it's it's a thing. I don't love it. I think that it would be great if they could just give people the most recent set, Supreme Darkness, or even just a set from the, like you said, just the past
at least from the
year
with 2025 on it for the love of God.
Yeah, something.
Maids of the Master. I don't know.
Yeah, something a little newer. But that was my only really small gripe. Everything else was fantastic and incredible and fun. The event itself seemed cool. I know that the Memento deck ended up winning.
Yep.
That was like just exciting for people. They revealed the Banlist live at the event again.
That was a
Jerome did a little skit where I guess he kind of like hacked his way into the YCS or something, and he had the Banlist
database.
I think that's a cool thing that they're doing now is revealing these YCSs or these Banlists at YCS events. It makes it more of a moment. I think it rewards people who come to the event.
And it does create some expectancy out of our ban list because now you're like, okay, so what big event is coming out is going to happen around the time our next ban list should be, and now you have some divining rod as to look for changes in the format instead of just crying for days and weeks on it.
Yeah, on social media, why give us the ban list. So that was cool. We'll talk about the ban list, I guess, here in a second. Other things. Jackie Jing, this was her first time hosting a YCS. People seem to really take well to her.
I didn't know that she was doing Yu-Gi-Oh events. I'd seen her do Bandai events, but not Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, she was the hostess of the event because Stephen Kangas, I guess, couldn't make it this weekend. But I think she did a wonderful job. I got to speak with her and meet her afterwards, and just great, energetic individual. Brought a really good energy to things. She said people were calling her mommy in chat and stuff. So
if the shoe fits, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like proposed or something on the event floor. But yeah, I think it was just a really good energy overall, and also some of the same like things you expect. Players kind of complaining about like, oh, my round went so badly, someone slow played me, the judges have it out for me, I bricked. Like all of those familiar Yu-Gi-Oh stories were all there.
The advent and the very big change in commentary in Yu-Gi-Oh has actually made one. I came to a realization: Yu-Gi-Oh must not be as complicated as I thought it is, because these commentators are able to step into the space. And of course, I know they have to like work and have to study and they learn, but they do learn enough about Yu-Gi-Oh to announce and commentate at a modern Yu-Gi-Oh event. We're not playing speed duel cards here. And they can hold their own well enough. I was wondering, like, man, what if we got like Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith just does commentary.
To do commentary
oh my god,
at like a Nats or something. Because like I now believe that if somebody dedicates themselves, I believe they can learn this game well enough to hop on a loudspeaker and entertain. Well, and he's like the biggest name in that.
Something worth noting that she was telling me is apparently like she had a boot camp for like a couple months leading up to even just like the world, because she did commentary at the World Championships last year, like at Worlds. So not like a YCS, but like at Worlds. I think she did like some hosting for Duel Links or something like that. She did like custom commentary for Duel Links. And like she had to like boot camp for like 2 months, just nose to the grindstone, like learning everything about the game so she could sufficiently kind of host it. Here, though, I don't think she had to know as much about the decks and cards because that was more of like the commentator's job, whereas she was like a hostess.
Kind of like the
so just hyped up the crowd and that kind of vibe.
It's a welcome change in the Yu-Gi-Oh space where we've talked about it before how dry things used to be.
They did, yeah, a little more golf commentary vibes.
Which if you were really dialed into Yu-Gi-Oh, it was fine, but from a spectator's point of view, could have been more exciting.
Yeah, I think nowadays with like, Steven Rodriguez, Steven Darling, both of them.
Stephen Kangas.
Yeah, they bring really good energy to things. So Anywho, yeah, that was the YCS. Overall, it was great. One last thing I forgot to mention, there was a fire alarm pulled in round 1. I don't know if it actually happened at the YCS or if it was another event that was happening in that building that weekend. But yeah, during round 1, we all had to evacuate and go outside.
Boy, somebody bricked.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because like the round wasn't over, so I don't know how they ended up finishing that.
I feel like somebody got a brick hand and they like texted their buddy, "Hey, bro, pull the fire alarm. Just do it. Just do it, bro. I need this."
I think they just maybe because you just like replay your round 3 or whatever game you were in. Like I don't know, but that happened.
And as you evacuate, you just push the cards down in such a way where the judge is gonna have you guys reshuffle.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I wouldn't have even left my cards on the table. I would have taken them with me.
You know, during evacuation, they always say leave everything and take your
Nope, not me.
No, I'm right there with you. I've never done an evacuation without bringing my laptop and everything with me.
Yeah,
I always bring my stuff. I don't care if I get hurt.
Yeah.
Like if I live, my laptop dies, it's not worth it.
Yeah, so that was YCS Houston. Seriously, big shout out to anybody that I met and said hi to, talked with. I tried to chat with as many people as I could. We signed some stuff. A lot of people said that they did like the podcast and that they listened to it at work, on commutes. Just
I don't believe you, Paul.
Very cool.
What was your best fan interaction?
I don't actually know what my best one was because I was talking to some people about what we thought the ban list was going to be, but then I was talking to somebody else about do they like their Galaxy Flip phone? Their Galaxy Fold, their Galaxy Flip. There were a couple people who did art and gave me, their business cards and gave me card artwork, custom card arts that they had done.
Remember, guys, you can network at Yu-Gi-Oh events.
Somebody sketched a Pot of Greed, kind of just on a token. That was really cool.
Just right in front of you?
Well, not in front of me. They said they did it on their way there.
Oh, so, okay.
Just so many cool interactions. I thought that was really neat. Another neat thing I actually picked up from a judge, or not a judge, but from a vendor. So as you guys can see, our guest of the show this week is the Marshmallow plush.
Not more Marshmallow, just Marshmallow.
And I also got this Blue Eyes White Dragon plush.
Huh. These feel like the things you find in those grabber machines in Tokyo.
Yeah, a lot more of that stuff I think is just being imported over and stuff. And
claw machines.
They're selling it at vendors. So this was cool. And I got this Pot of Greed little sling bag. You could technically keep your deck or something in here.
Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad.
The detail on it's really good. So
let me touch it. It feels like it's really well made. Okay, it
is well made, I think.
But
I think it's well made. I mean, all things considered, I liked it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, if you're gonna carry your deck in a sling or crossbody, you would want it to be the Pot of Greed.
So that's a great segue, I think, into the ban list.
Yeah, a banned card. We go into the ban list.
Yeah, so we did get the ban list revealed. People were very hyped about this at the event.
I imagine they roared.
I think that so much has already been said about the list itself and the specific cards that we can probably skip some of that and just talk about the big picture things. Unless you want to go through it, how do you want to?
I mean, I didn't get to experience the reveal of the list. Okay. And I haven't watched any reactions to it, so this is my one chance.
All right, cool. We'll try to zip through it a bit then. So several cards got unlimited, just cards going to 3. Cyber Jar, which was already at 1 or 2.
Fully expected. Won't make a difference.
Danger's Jackalope and Tsuchinoko.
Didn't expect it, but it won't make a difference.
Yeah, these cards have been on the list for a while, and I think they're just finally realizing their time's kind of come and gone.
I mean, the only deck that I think this makes a difference for is Dark World.
And if you're playing a Dark World deck, that's actual consistency improvement. But I think for most other decks, they're just not really.
We're kind of past the point of teching in Dangers.
Performance Pal Monkey Board is at 3 now, so.
Won't make a difference.
Wild to think that card stayed banned for as long as it has, and now it's just at 3.
Because if you're playing Performer Pals, I haven't seen too many modern lists lately, but even the last time I played Performer Pals, Monkey Board didn't do enough to be worth it, which is insane to say about a 1-card scale.
I mean, I imagine they run it, but just that the idea of getting a scale with it isn't enough to affect the meta game. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you can run it. It's just
It's just like people wanted Electromite. It's really what they want when it comes to pendulums.
I mean, that's what you need.
And then Eva also got unlimited, which I don't know if that was like 1 or 2 before, but it's a 3 now. So
Drytron are happy?
Yeah, I guess so.
I can't think of where else that card gets played.
Bunch of semi-limits, and this was actually probably the biggest conversation piece, I would say, of this ban list, was that Konami, who has traditionally never really made much use of the semi-limited list.
They use it today.
Joke that it's like the malicious list, basically. Like, it's just Destiny Hero Malicious exists semi-limited, and not that many other cards do. Sometimes it can sort of be like a holding cell for cards that are moving their way to 3, but they semi-limited a bunch of cards. So Black Dragon Collapse Serpent actually went to 2, and White Dragon Wyver Burster. So those were like at 1.
They were at 1. Because those cards have proven time and time again that dragons are too good.
Yeah, dragons are strong, and so this is kind of a buff for them. But also Snake Eyes Ash and Snake Eyes Poplar went from 1 each to 2 now.
Which makes me happy since I ran the Snake Eye deck, but I really don't understand why.
Well, so I know that they were limited before, just as part of kind of the big Snake Eyes hit. But with Original Sinful Spoils banned still, I don't think that this makes a huge difference.
That's a good point. You can't tech it into things.
And as we'll get into in a bit, Bonfire also went from 3 to 1. So I think they felt that for the pure Snake Eye lover, the 10 of them that are out there,
I like Snake
they maybe needed to give them an Ash and a Poplar back if Bonfire is also having to go in the same list. Morphing Jar also went to 2 because it's just an old jar.
The jars could go to 3.
It'll find its way to 3 soon. Unchained Soul of Sharvara. That's one that's been limited for a very long time, like since 2023, like late 2023 basically. So that's back. That's kind of cause for celebration.
But only for Unchained, right? That's the only deck that would have played more than one, right?
I mean, I guess if you're doing sort of a little Ubel like Fiend Pile hybrid, they would sometimes run like
I got away
2 or
with
3
one.
copies. So, but the big news is that 3 different Ryziel cards: X Ryziel, Ice Ryziel, and Sword Ryziel. All 3 of Ryziel's different starter cards, basically, are the starter monsters. All got limited to 2, as well as Malice P. Dormouse, Malice P. White Rabbit, and Malice and Underground, their field spell. So each of the 2 top decks, Malice and Ryziel, just in the semi-limited section, have lost a slice of consistency.
It sounds such a Master Duel thing to do.
Yeah, very Master Duel, very OCG-esque, where they're big on the semi-limited lists on their ban list, whereas like here, there's kind of a prevailing thought that like semi-limited doesn't do enough. There's no purpose for it. Just because you cut a deck's consistency doesn't mean that.
Doesn't mean it won't beat me.
Yeah, its ceiling still remains unchanged. But I like this new approach to a ban list because, and we'll get into some of the other cards here in a second, but these 2 decks, as I experienced in a big way just this weekend playing in side events and stuff, are just very, very consistent. And sometimes just the idea that like that they will have a starter card and they'll have another starter and like an extender or whatever can make them difficult to play against. So just trimming down the consistency is a pretty big deal. I'd like to see if they continue this approach in the future with like other archetypes that are just so hyper consistent. We literally were talking about just last week on the pod how a lot of modern decks now just get to have like 9 starters, sometimes 12 starters. So,
but don't you think it's strange to design an archetype or strategy to be extremely consistent, and then you hit that consistency? Why not just release it as less consistent?
I know, you and me both, man. That's what I've always wondered. Like, I think this could possibly be an indication that in the future, Konami will not, I'm just hopeful thinking, in the future maybe Konami won't make these decks so consistent out of the box. Like, I don't know though.
But then again, if the goal, they still want the archetype to have a certain number of cards. They just don't want, maybe they just don't want us to run 3 of every one of them.
Yeah.
Because like, there's no way, once they print a card, they can't stop us from running it at 3 unless A
Yeah.
Banlist is made. So maybe that's the design style now. You design them as strong and as consistent as you can, and then through Banlist, you just start shaving off that consistency to get the deck to where you actually want it to be.
Yeah, I just think that like that's. I have mixed thoughts on
It's
it.
manufactured engagement.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like almost too devious for my liking. Like just we make it good and then we just put it to 2. It's like then just don't make it as because then that's like whatever. I don't know.
I guess if they weren't as good, then we would be on everybody. 100% of the population will be on like 60 card Fiendsmith piles, then they wouldn't even bother running these more archetypal strategies. Even though Ryzeal and Malice have gotten their pile decks as well.
Anywho, so the limited cards are Bestial Druid's Worm joining Bestial Magnamut in the limited pile. This is
I wouldn't mind seeing less Bestials.
yeah. The main reason I think that this happened is because these Bestial cards are very strong in the Malice deck. They could manually banish your Malice cards from your own graveyard and trigger their effects. So that was obviously very good. In addition to just Bestials being disruptive hand traps in their own right. Dimension Shifter finally at 1. Huge thing. People were cheering in the venue when he announced this because people don't like Dimension Shifter. People just don't like this card. It's pretty obnoxious, you know.
I remember when Dimension Shifter was first revealed, and people were like, "This is the weakest card of the world premieres."
Yeah, that 2019 Gold Sark 10.
And
It went on to ultimately probably be the most hated of them.
yeah, I mean, I find that like Dark Ruler and Nibiru are considered more acceptable
Yeah.
than Shifter.
Yeah, Shifter's rude. I'm surprised they didn't just ban it. Because at 1, I mean, I guess like it could still happen to you, and that would feel really sacky. Because like, oh man, my opponent, of course they got the 1 copy of But still, this is like a huge thing. I think it means that some decks might just forego Shifter altogether because it's only useful on your first turn, really.
It'll be really hard to get good use out of Shifter now.
Yeah, late game, it's just not really going to be playable. So interesting to see that finally happened. Masterpiece got put to 1 from banned. I don't think that matters a whole bunch, but it's cool.
Watch, you're saying that now, and then you're gonna get beat by one in Master Duel. Oh wait, it's already in Master Duel.
It's been in Master Duel at 3
mind.
for a bit.
It's not gonna do anything.
Mathmech Circular also came from banned to 1, which is kind of a big deal because Mathmech Circular's ban always felt kind of, I don't want to say random, but like the Mathmech deck never dominated in the TCG. It's a little bit stronger, I think, in Master Duel in like that best of 1 format. But in the TCG, I don't think the Mathmech deck ever made enough of a wave to warrant banning Circular. And I say this as a like certified Cybers hater. So
That's true. I've never seen Paul smile at a Cyberus card.
yeah, so that's at 1. Now, some interesting ones to follow. First of all, well, we'll get another one out of the way. Brilliant Fusion went to 1 from banned.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, there could be some interesting things that might happen here. Being able to get like Gem Knight, Seraphonite, extra normal summon, pitch a light monster.
Especially since now we're all on 60 cards.
Yeah, I could see some piles and things making use of it. However, Brilliant Fusion is still just at 1. So it won't be super consistent. I think that this is a smart way of testing it out, like seeing what happens with it at 1. They can move it around. Also, there's like Gem Knight support coming in the next, like Battles of Legend maybe or something.
Yeah,
so.
they're gonna have Gem Knight support. They want to at least let them have their,
like a copy of Brilliant Fusion.
Card.
Okay, so there's also Ryzeal Detonator. This is
That's the rank 4, right?
Yeah, it's their kind of
He's
rank
the
4 ball.
Ryzeal.
Yeah, I mean they have also Duo Drive or whatever, but that's not. He's like a step in the ladder type.
This
of
guy's
card.
the face of the archetype.
Yeah, he's their big buffed up Zodiac Trident card, and I can say from experience this weekend, card's obnoxious as hell to deal with. It makes it really annoying to play because you can just pop things multiple times during your turn. But by putting this card at 1, it means that if you can banish this card, it's kind of just out of circulation. And that's a really powerful thing that actually does cut into the power level, I think, of Ryzeal a lot. So, neat. A big hit to Ryzeal as well. Bonfire went from 3 to 1.
Oh, Pyro players, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it feels bad, man, because it's like this was a card that was abused quite heavily in Ryzeal because they have Pyro monsters. But if you're playing Volcanics,
I mean,
or something else like that.
We knew this was coming one day. Like,
Yeah.
Bonfire could not be at 3 purely because Konami immediately started making pyro monsters. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like
the
we
moment
went
Bonfire
years
came out
without pyro monsters. They make Bonfire and they're like,
and suddenly it's just like Centurion's got a pyro starter, Ryzel's got a pyro starter, Snake Eye comes out. So
hey, but one pyro searcher is still better than none.
Yeah, it also I think is a way of pushing people towards that like 7th Tachyon and 7th Ascension, like those cards that can function effectively as Bonfire did in the Ryzel deck, but they are neg-1s in card economy, a little bit more like a Signet mining. And so for that reason, I think A, it's a new product to get you to buy, and then B, it's a bit of a nerf in that you have to play a card that asks a slight bit more of your card advantage. And then finally, the two kind of big limited spells that I'm super glad to see on this list are Crossout Designator and Triple Tactics Talent.
I weep.
So Crossout Designator is something that I think isn't super relevant for a lot of more the casual crowd. Like most people just don't really play it. But in competitive circles, it's really strong because it's the one card in the game that can kind of just like stop any other card in the game for the most part. And it kind of caused the hand trap or didn't cause, but exacerbated the hand trap problem that people sort of point to in Yu-Gi-Oh, where people are running so many hand traps, partly because they need to cover all their possible bases so that their Crossout Designator can hit a Droll and can hit a Ghost Spell and can hit a this and a that and a Biru. So you got to run those hand traps alongside your Crossout so that you can stop those hand traps from being used against you. And it turns into a whole little mess. So it's limited now. That's what they ended up doing in the OCG. It's like that in Master Duel. So.
I remember, I forget what I was running, but I was running one copy of Droll with Crossout Designator because Droll was my worst nightmare.
It's mini decks.
It was like twice in a row, I want to say, where I just kept opening the Droll. I was like, why is this in my head?
A funny story this weekend actually was that somebody sided in Crossout Designators and like lightning storms and other things that they thought I was going to side in against them. So they were kind of trying to play the reverse mind game where it's like, you'll side this against me, so I'm going to side in a single copy of it plus my crossouts to stop your copy that I anticipate you siding. And they ended up bricking with all of them and losing because of it. So it was, But yeah, so Crossout's gone. Same with Triple Tactics Talent. I think that this card's another kind of belligerent one. It's rude. When Tactics resolves, it's like punishing your opponent for playing hand traps.
Yeah.
Which is rude. So.
But I thought we didn't want our opponents to play hand traps.
Well, we do. We just want to also have a tactics in our hand so that after they play that hand trap, I can then like use my tactics.
This is really mixed messaging because the Crossout Designator is anti-hand traps, but we want that gone.
Yeah. I don't really know, but I mean, like overall, these are both powerful spells that were kind of defining games, and so they are both limited now. I still think people will at least play Triple Tactics Talent, especially because I
think that still has value at 1.
Yeah, that still got value, especially because you still use Triple Tactics Thrust and set it from your deck in a similar scenario. If you're like going second, or even like sometimes it could be useful going first, but yeah, good hits. And for the forbidden stuff, there are 4 new ban cards. First of all, they banned Nightmare Griffin. Kind of one of those about times.
Good riddance.
Yeah, it's never used for anything honest or upstanding. It doesn't pay its taxes.
It never co-links.
Link Decoder, which as a certified Cybers hater, I approve. Link Decoder, you might be kind of confused, like what even is that one, right?
It's probably some weird bridge.
It's a little Link 1 monster that when used as link material for a Cybers monster that's got 2300 attack, which is usually the Code Talkers, but conveniently all the Malice cards also have 2300. Oh. Surprise, surprise. It gets to come back. And so effectively what Link Decoder is doing is it lets any of your Malice monsters become 2 materials for a Link summon. Because they can just link into like, Link Decoder, and then Link Decoder can turn. So yeah, you can turn like 2 materials into 3 or so on and so forth. It just makes for easier combos. And so with that gone, Malice has to work a little bit harder to get into some of its higher Link monsters. Abyss Dweller is also banned.
Was Mermail that big of a deal?
So it's funny you mentioned Mermail, but it's actually just another Ryzel thing, really.
Oh.
Although Mermail could use it too, but Ryziel could run water monsters and make Bahamut Shark, but they also could just make Abyss Dweller in general.
I did get Abyss when I was playing against Ryziel, that's true.
Yeah, and Abyss Dweller just shuts off a lot of decks. Just shuts the graveyard off.
You know, it's so... I know people are probably glad to see Abyss Dweller go. I'm actually not glad, only because Abyss Dweller is one of those My Era cards.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
Because Abyss Dweller didn't do anything to anybody back then. Like it was a staple in extra decks. It was a problem if it resolved on you, but I felt like it was a fair card at the time.
At the time, it just didn't age well.
What a shame.
The more that Yu-Gi-Oh has been compacted into the single turn, the harder it has become to, And
we can't tolerate a full turn of having your grave turned off.
And then Bahamut Shark also got banned, which was just cheating out totally awesomes. So
this is not because of Mermail.
Well, this part is kind of more because of Mermail.
Oh, okay.
It's like both, really, because Ryziel was also, some variants were also using Bahamut Shark and like plopping down a toad. And Mermails were plopping down toads, and it was just...
Toad dot deck.
Yeah. Some decks could like do it twice.
Double toad.
Yeah,
Rude.
It's rude. So a huge ban list, a total of 30 cards moved across all of these.
That is an impressive ban list for Konami.
Even bigger than the December one last year, which was like 25 cards. 25th anniversary.
There were big hits, there were small hits, there were weird hits.
Overall, I mean, I approve of the ban list. I think people seem to be receiving it really well. Cards people didn't like got hit, cross out, shifter, stuff like that. Consistency hits to the best decks without outright killing them.
But nerfing some of their options.
Yeah, I think that the big theme and takeaway I saw was like decks don't get to cheese anymore. You no longer get to like cheese with Nightmare Griffin and set some cheeky floodgate. You don't get to like cheese out totally awesome with Bahamut Shark, cheese someone's turn with Abyss Dweller. Like, a lot less of that, less cheesing with shifter, and so it was like decks have to kind of work a little bit more honestly, or at least that's the.
I wonder, because I get this feeling that because I wouldn't have expected hits to Ryziel and Malice and not nearly as many. I wonder if Konami is trying to make room for something in the format. Maybe Blue Eyes?
Yeah, I mean, the decks that didn't get hit here would be like Blue Eyes, Odeon, the Tomb Keeper stuff has been making a small splash. We're going to be getting Justice Hunters in a couple months, I think, and that's going to have like the Yummies and some other decks that are slated to do quite well. And one glaring omission from this ban list was Fiendsmiths, which people thought was going to be somewhere here because the Fiendsmith engine is used in so many different decks.
So many Fiendsmith lists out there.
Overall, there's like two reasons why I guess it maybe didn't get hit. The first is because they're still reprinting the cards. They got to get you to buy Quarter Century Stampede this week. And Engraver's in there. So don't want to go limiting him. But the second thing, too, that I've heard from some players is just that the Fiendsmith engine is very techable and strong, but not unfair. And so some people feel like that's perhaps why it's
I feel like that
around.
second part doesn't enter into the Konami decision making.
I think it's a little bit too ubiquitous for them to ignore it forever, but my guess is just that they got to sell some Stampedes. They're going to also probably reprint Tract in something soon. Then come August,
ban it.
Slice and dice.
Engraver goes to 1, Tract goes to 1.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the ban list. Overall, I think it was good. It was, they tried some new things, and people seem to really like it. I'm going to zip through the rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh news now.
Okay.
So we got the reveal of that V-Jump promo card, prototype Sky Striker Ace, Amatsu.
I thought it was going to be a field spell searcher.
Yeah, it just kind of has more of like a destroy cards effect. It's like a decent little Link 1 with some utility. Some more reveals from Duelist Advance, like Inferno of the Ashen, a continuous spell that lets them put the Ashen City from their deck into the field zone and also remove cards, summon Vados and stuff out.
I've been meaning to build Ashen for so long, I just never get around to it.
A couple other cards, like there's a new Dragon Tail, a new K9, and a new Yummy that will all be coming out in Duelist Advance. So
wait, what's the new K9? I didn't see this one.
It's... What is it? K9 Valen the Psychic Sky Blaster. So
It has
it's not
Skyblaster
actually a
in there?
K9 card. It's like a rank 5.
Oh, but they can use it.
What I mean to say is they're doing that thing where like you get an indirect support that
Got
does not
it.
have the name of the archetype, but like is conveniently the level and gimmick and stuff that they tend to use. Same with like Sacramentum Dragon is meant to kind of be used with
Wait, show me that card again.
which one?
Sky Blaster.
Valen the Psychic Sky Blaster, yeah.
This card's very familiar. What is it about this card that
Let me
screams
take a look.
the Psychic Sky Blaster? Valen Psychic Sky.
I mean, it makes you think of like Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer.
That's it. It reminds me of Castel.
It has a similar effect too. I think it's like a retrain. It during the main phase, quick effect, detach a material, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, changes to face-down defense position. And when this card gets sent to the graveyard, you can target a set card and destroy it. So it is similar to Sky Blaster. I guess it's like a powered up form.
Okay, I was like, it had that goofy hat on. I said, what is this reminding me of?
There's that new Artemisia archetype. I thought it was Ultimagia, but I think it's been roughly translated now to Artemisia. It is this archetype of new monsters that seem to be the new lore archetype, is what everybody's saying.
Oh, this is an interesting. Huh.
There are a little variety of monsters. They have different sort of like weapons/instruments.
Instruments?
Well, I mean, like this girl seems like this is a guitar base. Like it's not really a guitar, but she's like
kind of does look like
the way she's holding it. It's like a harp guitar/weapon.
If you're gonna have a
deal.
harp as a weapon,
Looking at Artemisia
it can
Litera.
look cool.
So yeah, that's kind of cool. We'll be finding out more about maybe where their lore goes in the future.
Those cards to me look like Rush Duel cards.
They do. The art style is so vibrant and bright.
It's vibrant. It's bright. It's clean. If you'd have told me that's a new Rush Duel archetype, I'd have been like, yeah, that looks about right.
We also got a new Morganite spell, and finally the monster that seems to be, I guess, manipulating these Morganite cards. Morgana, the Witch of Eyes. So, she's the newest Yu-Gi-Oh mommy, you could say.
It's too bad she's dead.
She can search for any Morganite spell when she's normally special summoned. And, yeah.
Many of you already know her as Azamina Moa Regina.
Which was interesting, that there's a lore connection seemingly there.
It was a bit. It was weird when I saw the card because I immediately recognized her from I think that's Play the Diabell, or is it like a Diabell? I think it's Play the Diabell. And in Play the Diabell, you see
Play the Diabell.
Morgana fighting LZ, and she's then killed in that one Azamina trap. You see LZ kind of standing, and then the body of Morgana is in the background, very, very dead.
Yeah, Morgana transforms into Azamina Moa Regina
after having her soul sucked out.
So, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Anyway, though, that's almost all the Yu-Gi-Oh news. But there is one last interesting new development.
What's that?
Which is that, have you ever wanted your favorite card, photo, or Funko Pop signed by one of the Yu-Gi-Oh voice actors?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Well, there's actually Yu-Gi-Oh voice actor autograph submissions by Nostalgia Con, which I guess is like a convention. So yeah, here's what they say. The Nostalgia Con. If you've always dreamed of having your favorite card, photo, or Funko Pop signed but couldn't make it out to an event, the Nostalgia Con is making it easy. You send in your item, choose your voice actor, and the team will handle the rest. This is your moment to own something truly personal and signed with care. So they're going to have the voice actors of Yugi, Jaden, and Yusei apparently at this event. And here's what you need to know. Head to the NostalgiaCon website and fill out the submission form. You ship your item to them before the 21st of April. So hurry and do that if you're interested in this.
Yeah,
they give an address. It's the Poke Hive, some place in San Antonio, Texas. You can send anything that fits in a medium flat rate box or smaller. So cards, Funkos, DVDs, photos, you name it. Return shipping. They actually cover the return shipping, which is awesome, by the way. That's really nice of them.
That is nice.
They did not have to do that. And unfortunately, this is not international. It's U.S. only, but they say the international options are coming soon.
The tariffs on that are going to be crazy.
Yeah, hopefully they're coming soon. We'll see. So, yeah. That's a cool way to get some stuff signed. It's always fun to have something signed by Dan Green or Eric Stewart. It oftentimes makes it worth a little bit more, maybe just both in terms of meaning to you, and also maybe money if you're into that. So
I mean, I guess for me, I would miss out on the because they say it's deeply personal. But one of my favorite parts about getting like something signed is usually you meet the person signing it.
right.
That's like the personal interaction, because a signature is cool, but then that moment you spend with them, it's not a long moment, but it's meaningful to you as a fan. You'll never forget it. I guess if you literally cannot make it out to see these people ever, then this is better than nothing.
Correct. It is something, because not everybody's like able to really get to conventions. They can be expensive, the travel, all that stuff.
So I imagine the service isn't very cheap either.
It didn't. I was trying to kind of find out how much it costs, and I don't see a cost. Maybe there's more information on the website. So anyway, that's cool, and that is the Yu-Gi-Oh news for the week. It's always kind of lengthy whenever there's a ban list and an event recap.
But we got to talk about it. That's what the people need.
Okay, so what do we got? What's going on?
Well, one, a video started playing on my tablet, even though I didn't have a video open, so I don't really understand that one. But I do have card game news. And of course, I got to start off with a Pokemon crime story.
Fine. What's happening? Who's stealing what or scamming?
So, man accused of using counterfeit money to buy Pokemon cards.
Counterfeit money?
Yeah.
Oh, that's new.
So, a Pokemon TCG card seller has reportedly been scammed by a buyer giving them counterfeit bills. But the story has a happy ending. We're going to skip the bloat. Where's the story? Times Colonist reports that in British Columbia, Canada, a seller closed a deal on March 19th with a buyer calling themselves Love Deep Dylan. Okay. For Pokemon TCG cards on Facebook Marketplace. Well, that's your first mistake. Totaling a whopping $1,500. After closing the deal, though, the seller quickly became alarmed, realizing that the money they had been given appeared to be counterfeit. The bills reportedly had identical serial numbers and unusual texture, and the holographic anti-counterfeit marks could be removed.
Okay.
It might have ended badly for the seller, but the buyer actually set up a second deal with them for another $2,700 worth of Pokemon cards, and the seller seized the opportunity to set a trap.
Oh, they set a trap. So I guess they found out the first time, and they're like, okay, we'll sell you some more, but let's see what's going on.
The seller went to the police and explained the situation, showing the cops the fake currency. They hatched a plan, and the police were waiting when the buyer arrived to close the transaction. They were arrested, and police seized $10,200 in counterfeit money. The police were subsequently able to return the TCG cards to the original owner, as well as property to one other unidentified victim. The police are asking anyone who thinks they may have been targeted. It's given their information is the Victoria Police. If you live out there, you already know the police number. I'm not going to reiterate that. But yeah. So now we're buying Pokemon cards with counterfeit bills. I think we're going way too far.
That's the equivalent of stealing, really. So
you have to, it's not easy to get counterfeit bills, right? Because it's literally illegal to even make counterfeit bills, it's not easy to get them.
I imagine it's very much you got to be pretty involved to do that. That's not like an accident sort of deal. Not that much money anyway.
And then this guy, he sets up the seller for $1,200 worth of Pokemon cards. He gets away with it. The seller catches on, but it's after he's already gone. Why would you double dip?
What's kind of funny about that is I think that's that age-old, returning to the scene of the crime thing. Where just, for some reason, it's just something in the universe pulls criminals, whether that's killers, kidnapping, scams, whatever. It's just that tendency to return to the scene of the crime.
There's two different types of thieves in the world. There are thieves that are driven by desperation. And then there's the cartoon style, I don't want to call them dumb, but dumb thieves, where they're like Jesse and James from Pokemon, just stumbling through their own schemes. Because he'd already pawned off the $1,200. That's when you go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I can't really speak to, I guess, the mind of crime. I haven't
There's many
really
podcasts
done
for that. I mean,
but
what podcasts?
yeah, that's true. This is the only
There are
podcast.
no other
Let's not
podcasts.
forget that part. But I guess for me, it's just like, I think that there's this tendency to recognize that, I finally got someone, so I might as well like just draw this out as much as I can. Because like if you think about it, right, like if I'm, maybe this is how it works in their mind, I'm not really sure. If I'm going to try to pull a scam, and I know it's like not necessarily likely to work for anybody who is sort of careful and like watchful or whatever, so kind of suspicious of me. If I finally find somebody that it does work on, maybe that's why I'm like more likely to just try to extract more out of that person, because like they've already, not saying that's a good idea. Obviously, you shouldn't be scamming or whatever to begin with, but like I think that's the thought process.
I mean, I could believe it. I'm actually glad that the seller was able to recognize this fast enough where
They didn't lose more.
yeah, they didn't lose more, and I wonder if they set up this second deal before or after they discovered the cards were counterfeit.
I think they set it up after. Like they found out, and then they were like, okay, we're gonna use this second one as an opportunity.
But guys, look, I know none of you guys are printing counterfeit bills to buy Pokemon cards, so spread this to your friends that do. Don't. Card games we're already in a perilous place when it comes to like Pokemon TCG cards. We don't need this.
Yeah, I just totally unrelated. Have you ever considered the possibility that like you just have used like fake money before? Like like fake dollar bills would just like if you shop at Walmart and like just random places, just that like you've gotten change from a restaurant or gotten not a restaurant or maybe a restaurant or like a store or whatever that's just been fake. Like you ever just thought about like then you've used that same dollar bill or whatever somewhere else, and just you've passed along a fake counterfeit.
I've actually been accused of using counterfeit money before.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to a gas station. It wasn't a gas station I normally go to from back home. It was one I'd never been to before. But it was late at night, and I think I wanted a Monster and some type of chips, whatever. I get the stuff, I pay in cash, and I'm waiting for my change because I think I gave him like a 20, and the guy across the counter starts looking at like the dollar, and then looks at me kind of funny, and he straight up just asked, "Is this real?" And I'm like, "It says real as I know. Like, there's something wrong with it." And so he takes like this pen, he's looking at it, he calls like I think his manager or somebody over, and they both examine it. They eventually agree like, okay, it's real enough. But I was like,
yeah,
if I have counterfeit money, why would I come in here and buy a soda and drinks or a soda and chips?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was gonna consider like just I'm assuming like at some point in my life I've had like just a fake $1 bill just pass through my wallet and then they like just spent somewhere. It's gonna
maybe my biggest struggle with a dollar bill was when I had one that was ripped in half, and I was trying desperately to find something somewhere that would take my ripped dollar bill because it had no use.
Yeah, that's true. I guess like is there like a certain percentage that it can be ripped before it's like I remember someone told me about that.
It turns out most places don't even really, once they see it's ripped at all, they just don't take it.
Yeah, it's like, nah.
Like, nah, we're not doing that cheap.
I usually, whenever I have like a fairly ripped dollar bill, I try to just get into a vending machine.
I tried that. The vending machine
sometimes you got to get lucky.
I think I ended up having to throw it away.
Well, speaking of things that you might want to not throw away, it's not a good segue, but Magic the Gathering X Final Fantasy set breaks street date due to Wizards of the Coast error. You technically were telling me about this a little bit earlier. Distributor warns of penalties unless products are returned undamaged. So, this is a kind of colored article, you could say, in once again scrambling to cover their own screw-up. Wow. After an error on the behalf of Wizards of the Coast resulted in their Final Fantasy-themed Magic the Gathering set
unbiased journalism.
Yeah, very unbiased journalism set, breaking its street date far earlier than scheduled. The distributor responsible for delivering said materials has warned retailers that they could face massive penalties unless they return the accidentally released products in an explicitly undamaged state. So yeah, as you guys know, this is like a big Universes Beyond crossover, Magic X Final Fantasy. We spent like an entire pod episode talking about that. And I guess some copies of this ended up in the wild a little bit earlier. In fact, this set's not due to be out for like till what, June?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a little while before it's
June
supposed to come
13th.
out. But like you just said, I've started seeing pictures of cards just running around the internet.
Yeah, so a yet to be publicly detailed distribution error on the publisher's end resulted in a run of the aforementioned starter kits being prematurely delivered to a handful of Brazilian game stores. Shortly after which, its localized contents were subsequently leaked online. Surprise, surprise,
Yep.
right? Yeah, so they're saying you better return this stuff undamaged, lest you face penalties. Which I guess undamaged would just mean unopened.
Yeah, unopened. That's really what they mean.
I mean, obviously we know that some have been opened.
Yeah, we know for a fact. And I feel bad because depending on the type of store, some stores won't know any better. They may not sell it, but they might still open it because of pure curiosity. And sadly, that's going to come with a lawsuit.
Yeah, you might remember this is not the first time that Magic the Gathering products have been accidentally seeded to somebody early. If you remember back in 2023, YouTuber Dan Old School MTG Cannon was sent a booster box of the then upcoming March of the Machine The Aftermath set, roughly 3 weeks before its official street date, and that was the infamous Pinkerton Detective Agency incident where Wizards of the Coast, or Hasbro, I guess, sent the Pinkertons to his house to interrogate him and recover the products, and they made his wife cry, and they
acting out over a March of the Machine Aftermath.
It was the whole thing.
Of all sets.
So, yeah, I just thought this was kind of some amusing news.
It's not amusing for that shop that broke the street date.
Yeah, I guess the shop might be in a little bit of trouble, though.
Because Hasbro will meet them with the full fury of their legal team.
Although I think that it sounds like Hasbro should be even angrier at the distributor who got it to that shop, because it was clearly, like, it seems like, from what I'm reading anyway, it's like the distributor of that, like, to that shop in Brazil.
I'm sure the distributor is going to get it to some degree, but given the precariousness of trading card game like supply chains in South America, they may not have too much of a choice what distributor they use. But I feel like they will definitely take out all of their aggression onto that card shop.
Yeah. So there's a neat little Magic the Gathering thing. I have no clue if you were supposed to talk about, I guess, leaked Magic cards or not, but I guess we are here. So.
Oh, I mean, I saw them on like Twitter. I don't know what you want.
Yeah,
like,
it happened.
Look, Wizards, I don't know what you want from me. They were just on Twitter. I can't pretend like I didn't see them. I'm a Final Fantasy fan. Did I see more Final Fantasy 14 cards that I wanted? And yes.
Yeah.
Were there more Final Fantasy 7 cards I wanted? Yes. I'm not going to go into detail talking about them, mostly because they were in Portuguese. And, well,
yeah,
I'm not a speaker of that language. But, you know.
Any other card game news?
No.
All right, well, I got a quick card game one. This is a game that we don't play. Disney Lorcana TCG bans its first 2 cards from competitive play. So, like I said, I don't play Lorcana. I don't think you play Lorcana. Really, like,
I keep forgetting that there's actually competitive Lorcana.
Right. Yeah. So, today the Ravensburger Disney Lorcana TCG team announced removing 2 cards from eligibility, known as a ban, in the core constructed format. A ban is an important part of keeping a trading card game like Disney Lorcana thriving and fresh. The game design team chose to ban Hiram Flavorsham.
Oh, Hiram Flavorsham. I remember that card. That was in the very first set.
Yeah, Hiram Flavorsham Toymaker and Fortisphere to ensure the greatest diversity of successful strategies was available to competitive players. The ban is in effect as of April 8th, 2025, meaning all Disney Lorcana events taking place after that date will no longer accept deck lists with those cards included. This marks the first time that cards have been banned since Disney Lorcana TCG launched in August 2023.
I mean, they did a good job of holding back on a ban list, but I'm sure if your card game needs a ban list and you get it so late in, I imagine the format was fairly stale.
Yeah, so it sounds like these are, I guess, kind of over-centralizing cards. Here's a little quote from Elaine Chase, the Chief Marketing Officer for TCGs.
Did they give us, like, reasons why they banned them?
Yeah, they did.
Ooh, come
There's
on,
actually
Konami.
like a whole write-up. It's crazy.
Come on.
And here's their basic little quote. No card is ever designed with the intention of it not being played in competition, she says. But in order to keep the metagame healthy and challenging without it feeling stale or repetitive, seeing the same strategies again and again, the TCG design team made the difficult decision for the good of the game. We know bans are the last line of defense, and we will only pull that lever when it will increase excitement for competitive play. And they also note that these are not removed from the game entirely. Players are still encouraged to enjoy playing them in their decks against friends and family. So, yeah. Here's what's interesting. I remember seeing this on Twitter later, but for more information on the decision to remove the cards from competitive play, join a discussion on the Disney Lorcana Discord server. They actually are encouraging players to talk about this, which is something Konami would certainly never do.
Their mods must work hard.
And they say that the team will be posting an open letter to the community on the decision from Steve Warner, the co-lead designer of Disney Lorcana.
So they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, there. And you can join Steve on the Discord for a text-based discussion at 3 p.m. So fans can feel free to log in and ask questions.
They make it sound like it's going to be constructive. I mean, maybe the Lorcana community is different from the Yu-Gi-Oh community, because I know if we had that, it would be far from constructive. That.
Like, Jerome McHale is just like, hey, guys, I'm going to be on Discord tomorrow at 12 noon. You get an hour to ask me anything about this ban list.
It's like, no, we got to take it to Pojo.
People would just tear them to shreds. So I think it's cool that they're being so open and transparent. It really seems as though this was not a decision that they made lightly. And they're trying to really keep it keep the discussion lines open so players really understand.
So there was a line in there that I thought was really impactful that I was wondering, like, man, what if Konami said this underneath every single ban list? We encourage you to still play these cards against friends and family. You know, when we get Yu-Gi-Oh ban lists, that's the law of the land. Burn all these cards. I better not see them on a table or I'm going to rip out my hair.
The Konami ninjas will come and assassinate you.
But, like, what if every Yu-Gi-Oh ban list also said we encourage you to still play these cards with friends and family?
I think that, well, I mean, like, the big thing is ban lists don't say anything.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they don't say any particular thing. They just are like, here's the cards that are banned. I'm not going to turn it into a Disney Lorcana versus Yu-Gi-Oh TCG type of debate.
But we know who'd win.
But I will say that...
Chad Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. I will say that it is refreshing to see that transparency from a company, because if you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh long enough, it's not
I think
around.
If you exist in the card game space, you've seen the Yu-Gi-Oh ban lists. You've seen some of the Commander ban list snafu. I feel like you cannot start banning cards without a lot of thought going into it. You have to know how you're going to execute it before you ever do it.
Yep.
How are you going to measure the community? How are you going to temper?
You're going to handle the communications around that.
Because that Commander ban list thing was crazy. And the vomiting horse memes for Yu-Gi-Oh, I mean, it's a staple now. I hate it, but
speaking of open communication,
oh god,
want to transition a little bit into gaming?
Sure.
I'm sure you have a gaming story or two. Well, I've got a big one. Speaking of like companies sending out people to make statements, Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser, it's always funny that his last name is Bowser, explains why the console is currently priced at $449.99. So first of all, I guess a big update to the Nintendo Switch 2 situation is that things have been kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. The conversation has moved a lot away from just like, is it a little overpriced, to it's definitely overpriced. Where's Nintendo's statement? Then it came out that Nintendo was delaying pre-orders of the Switch 2. They were supposed to start on April 9th, but because of the tariffs, they said that they're pausing that and they're going to have to reconsider.
Oh, politics in my gaming.
Yeah, I know. You don't want politics in your games. How dare politics affect the things you buy?
Maybe should have voted a different way. Oh, who said that?
Well, anyway... so basically, that's kind of been happening, and the conversation has been getting tense. And so Nintendo finally decided, Nintendo finally decided to step up and say something. Yeah. In addition to a new console, and hold up, In addition to a new console and lineup of games, Nintendo also revealed the sticker shock at the Switch 2 event last week that the console would cost $499, a big jump from the original Switch, which debuted at $299 in 2017. Mm-hmm. And some suspected the price hike was due to the ongoing confusion around President Donald Trump's planned tariffs. The timing was certainly awkward, But Doug Bowser says that tariffs did not directly impact the console's original price tag. So that's a little bit of insight into that.
Which I would assume that since they would have had to decide on that price before these could have been announced.
Well, they say when asked about it, Bowser rattled off a list of the console's new features, such as the bigger LCD screen, the more powerful internals, the Joy-Con controllers, and the game chat social layer that's built into the console. We want to make sure that this is a device that is approachable, that consumers will see as part of their overall entertainment experiences, and will understand that it has longevity to it. On all of those factors really go into consideration of the price. So, yeah, he gave an unclear response when asked if the existing Switch devices, which top out at $349, that's the Switch OLED, had an impact on the decision to charge $449 for the Switch 2. He says, "You want to consider pricing relative to the Switch since we still have that in distribution," he says. But really, the consideration was driven more by what is a part of this particular gaming experience versus what is relative to the Switch 1. So he says they're actively assessing what the impact may be.
I mean, I don't know why people are asking if the OLED's pricing was taken into account for pricing this model. Of course it was. That's how you do pricing strategy.
Yeah, you kind of have a ladder.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me.
He also gave a bit of a quote around why games like Mario Kart World cost as much as they did. Basically, he says each game is a unique experience, and so they're going to sort of individually price games on a game-to-game basis based on what they offer. And he talks about how the Mario Kart World game has a lot of replayability, and so that's why they felt that the $80 price tag is justified. So he says they're very deep, they're very repeatable, and so as we look at the depth of the play experience and opportunity, this is actually him talking about that new Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour game, the tutorial game that isn't included, you have to pay for.
Right.
He says that the games in that game are repeatable and have a good play experience, so we felt that $9.99 was a fair price to ask for that. So,
okay, I have a take on that.
You got thoughts?
Yeah. So, coming from he's a CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from a CEO, I have to say I think that strategy...
Or Nintendo of America president.
Nintendo of America. That pricing strategy, I think, is dangerous and sort of counterintuitive. I know last week we talked about how you can maybe justify the price of Mario because of the replayability. But when you think back on gaming pricing in history... Can you imagine if every single game's price was actually based on how much you would play it and not on some other standard? Usually games they have a standard pricing and you just meet that.
Yeah.
But think about the games you've played the most in your life. What if they all cost $99?
It's an interesting thing because I feel like it's weird because in saying that, Mario Kart World Tour or whatever, Mario Kart World, that's what it's called. I'm thinking of the Sonic racing game, or it's like Cross World or something.
It's a lot of racing games.
But, yeah, so if you consider that it is a very replayable game, as we pointed out, this will be played at plenty of parties and get-togethers and stuff for many, many years to come because it's Mario Kart. And you say, well, okay, it's worth $80 because it's replayable. It's almost like inadvertently saying that any game that you price for less is less worthy. It's like a weird, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you, the company, are saying, okay, Mario Kart's worth $80, but we're only maybe charging you $70 for the Donkey Kong game. Is that an admission that the Donkey Kong game isn't as good? I'm probably reading a little bit too far into that, but it's just a point.
It's worth extrapolating because he went ahead and claimed that was their strategy. Does that mean a single-player experience type game should be priced less than the rest of these games because you can't really replay them as much as you can a Mario Kart? Yeah. Should the next Legend of Zelda game be 50?
I doubt it will.
I don't look a lot of times at single-player games. I play them only the one time, so I think I should pay $20 a game. That's just me.
It's going to be, I'm not sure how they...
I do have a theory on why they adopted that pricing strategy, though.
Okay.
I think it's a consequence of live service gaming.
Yeah, because they're not gonna really probably be doing maybe the battle pass thing and making the money from that. So you figured, could that be it, or do you think something else?
I was thinking it's about the time of enjoyment to revenue. One live service game will typically make more money than one non-live service game over its lifetime, because while these games are offered for free through microtransactions, people end up spending way more than they would have paid for a non-live service version of that game. And because these games rack up a stupid amount of playtime, you could look at it as, well, Zenless Zone Zero, or let's say what's Genshin Impact, has an extremely high replayability rate and it makes millions. So what if we look at all of our games that way, where the more someone plays it, the more they have to pay. Even if it's not live service, we can adopt that same thinking with our non-live service games and charge more for the more that you want to play it.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I'll say this. I've been kind of just following a little bit of the pulse around the Switch too, how people are feeling about it. And I've heard like both good and bad. I think some people are obviously still really upset about the pricing of the games, and I do still think that that's hefty. But I have at least heard some neat things that kind of give me a bit of hope that it is worth the price at least, or like they're trying to make it feel worth it. Like I saw the Digital Foundry did a comparison between like Final Fantasy VII Remake that's on the Switch 2 versus like on the PS4, like it runs better. So it's not like a PS5 level of graphics, but like it's impressive, right? And also, somebody actually said that like Nintendo Switch tour game or whatever, the little demo game that's $10 is actually like really fun. Like they said they got to play it at like a media event, and that there is more depth to those games and experiences than just like, it's not literally just a demo of how to play your Switch 2.
Is it better than Astrobot?
No clue. I don't know. I mean, so it's an interesting thought. But I guess you'd be thinking of Astro's Playroom, because Playroom was the demo that's like free on the PS.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Still, though, I think it just would have been nice to have included it in just bundled with the console. That's what they did with like Wii Sports, and that kind of went on to become one of gaming's most really memorable games.
Oh, for sure. I mean, to some degree, maybe they're declaring that the demo game era is over.
Yeah, you don't get a demo,
which is a shame because, you know, for a lot of us, like, not high income children, the demo games that we usually got with our systems,
that was oftentimes
you made them things work.
Yeah,
you played them a lot. Heck, I remember when I got my first Nintendo DS, I actually didn't have any games.
Yeah, I remember a similar
I was playing
period.
Game Boy Advance games on my DS.
Yeah, I remember like just having to share games with my sister. And like also just like not getting like something. There was a period of time I don't think I had a game or something.
Alex and I used to play. We used to just, because we both had one, and that's why we didn't get any games, because they bought two of them. We would just hop on PictoChat. That had to be the game.
Yeah, we played. I think we both shared a copy of Nintendogs. Was the game that we had, like, and so like. We would just both like take turns. Like, okay, you walk the dogs and feed them and get to play the mini games today, and I do it tomorrow. That's how it was. I mean, and I think like a lot of people can relate to that, though. Like just being kind of a, for lack of a better term, poor kid growing up with like, you know, you had game consoles, but like you didn't have loads of games. It's kind of the same as like you didn't have a second controller to play 2-player mode, or when you finally got to it was the Mad Catz controller. You know, like it's.
I guess maybe Nintendo recognizes the success of things like Wii Sports, and they're like, maybe they look at that as a loss. They're like, yo, we should have sold Wii Sports. We would have made money, a lot of money.
Capitalistic approach to it. But I will give them credit, though. I think that with all of this in mind, that game share feature will be helping a lot of kids out. Because now it's like, okay, all four of us, me and the crew, can play Mario Kart. So only one person has to pay $80 up front for a while.
Like, it's going to be difficult buying like gaming devices for kids in the future. I'm going to go ahead and say it, guys. We need to all start working together. So now only one person in the friend group gets to have a kid, and now everyone pulls their money together to then buy that
support
one
that
kid's
kid.
gifts.
Yeah.
Because if the whole friend group has kids, then ain't none of them kids gonna have
Then no one gets anything.
games. So one person in the friend group has a kid, and then everyone just makes sure the kid is well supplied on games.
It's only fair. So yeah, that's a little update on the Switch too. I'd love to hear what people are what's your vibe on it? You pre-ordering? Have they justified the price at all in your mind? What do you think? Anyway.
So that leads pretty well into my gaming story. Well, this one's a little gaming and AI, but it concerns Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
It says, Nintendo boss isn't interested in AI-generated games and claims human touch is essential.
I think this is also like a Doug Bowser quote, right?
It actually is. It is from Doug Bowser. And I read this headline, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely buying the Switch 2 now.
Yeah, Alec here's anti-AI. He's like, you got me.
I'm all in.
I'm sold.
So, in an interview with CNBC, Doug Bowser was asked about whether or not Nintendo is thinking about ways they can compete in the AI space with the Nintendo Switch 2. While Bowser couldn't speak for individual dev teams, he did say that the company as a whole isn't interested in replacing people with AI. He says, as we look at technology, we always want to make sure the technology we may be leveraging, whether it's to develop our game or whether it's in our devices, is going to make a better gameplay experience. What I would say is that if developers choose to use AI, and it is a discussion right now at Nintendo, it's not the only method of developing games. We still believe that what makes our games special is our developers, their artistic capabilities, and their insight into how people play. There's always going to be a human touch and human engagement to how we develop and build our games. So, from that quote, I really read that quote. He actually didn't say we will never use AI.
I mean, so my thing is like this. He, based on the last interview we were just talking about, I mean, like, he's just doing the typical high-ranking executive interview thing where he says, I can't speak to everyone, I can't speak for all developers, but at Nintendo, we've talked about this, and we believe,
I was thinking
blah, blah,
he
blah.
was going to say, like, oh, we hate AI and we'll never use it ever in any of our games. But like you just said, this was more of a...
It's a PR.
It's a corporate safe answer.
A PR thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I think Nintendo, they made a statement like last year, I want to say. We might have even talked about it on the podcast.
Probably. We've had a lot of episodes.
This came from Nintendo
episodes.
Japan. Yeah, we have.
100 other episodes. This is 101.
Yeah. No look high five. 3, 2, 1. We kind of did it.
We got there.
Yeah, 101 episodes. Okay. Yeah, but Nintendo, I think they made like some statement that was like kind of anti-AI. Like it was something along the lines of. Now I think in Japan that's a more prevailing thought process. Is they really are like, we're not about that AI stuff. Like we, their developers, can't speak for all of them either. But yeah, I would hate to hear that Nintendo was ever like making some like AI generated game or whatever.
Like the next Legend of Zelda game, AI progressive generation. The game is just one room. You take one step out the door and the AI gets to work.
Yeah, so I actually saw this. I'm glad you mentioned that story because I saw this one that was like Microsoft made an AI generated like Quake 2 inspired game that they released or showed.
Don't do Quake 2 like that, Microsoft.
Like a couple of days ago. Here's what it is. This is from PC Gamer.
I can already imagine
Microsoft unveils AI-generated demo inspired by Quake 2 that runs worse than Doom on a calculator, made me nauseous, and demanded untold dollars, energy, and research to make.
This is certainly unbiased, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, very non-biased reporting. But yeah, so basically, they, I guess, made this game that is a bite-sized demo that they say pulls you into an interactive space inspired by Quake 2, where AI crafts immersive visuals and responsive action on the fly, reads Microsoft's Q&A page about the demo. They say it is a groundbreaking glimpse at a brand new way of interacting with games, turning cutting-edge research into a quick and compelling gameplay demo.
It's crazy they had AI write that out for them.
They probably did. Here's a quick little look, actually, if you just wanted to see.
I don't, but I'll look
what
anyway.
what the gameplay experience looks like. This is it. It's, I guess, like you're just kind of playing Quake, like it's sort of a shooting game.
Yep.
And I guess it's
First-person shooter.
procedurally generating.
Yep. As you turn the corners, it's a new thing.
Kind of
Allegedly.
procedurally generating. It does not look like it runs well. All this lag that you're seeing is part of the video.
That's going to be the pure processing that it takes to actually AI generate in real time like that.
So yeah, enemies kind of just seem to kind of get generated in front of you.
That model was barely together.
Yeah, it's kind of messy looking, but
I think they said it's inspired by Quake 2, but the thing is, it was actually inspired by Modern Warfare, but that's the best thing to get it to look, so they said it was Quake.
yeah. So that's just a cool little AI thing if you were
Cool, he says.
interested. I'm not. I'm gonna be honest. If I'm ever told like a game is just like AI generated, like as you play, you'll just never get my sale. Like I'm not interested in that. I think that you listen to this podcast. Alec hates AI. I try to give it the smallest ounce of credit where I can, and I really do. But you will not catch me playing a fucking game that just tells it like I'm.
I'm so sick when it comes to AI. Sometimes I go to like Twitter or Reddit, search the word AI, and then downvote and block, downvote and block, downvote.
Alec wakes up and hates.
Yeah, that's the kind of AI hater I am. Like I find it so revolting. And
I just think,
sometimes it still finds its way into my algorithm, and that's usually what makes me want to go and do a purge.
Like, what's the point of this demo? Like, I guess I know what the point is from their perspective is like, let's see if we can generate some trash that costs us like less than paying people. I get that. But like as a gamer, it feels almost demeaning to be told that you're playing like I guess maybe they wouldn't even try to tell you. They'd want it to be like little Jimmy plays it and doesn't know that it's AI or his parents don't know. But like I feel like it's just demeaning, like playing something that like talks down to my intelligence so much that's just like, yeah, you can be entertained by like random just goop getting generated in front of you at every corner. Like it just none of it like it feels insulting. I don't know.
AI has so little place in gaming. And I know there's a lot of gamers who are optimistic about AI, and I actually I don't think they know what they're talking about, because this is the same community that fucking loses it every year for Game of the Year. We have high quality games come out every year, and we lose our goddamn mind trying to decide which one's the highest of quality and the best game, and yet we will humor these AI generations. As like AI generated games tries to set us back to the 20s.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a mess. But speaking of gaming, did you hear this Minecraft movie like broke the box office?
It broke it?
Oh yeah, well maybe not. I mean, physically broke it. I mean, funny if that's how that works.
It broke some records.
Yeah, a Minecraft movie. That's the name of the movie. Is both a box.
It's called
a Minecraft movie.
That's annoying.
Is both a box office hit and post-ironic meme. So yeah, the film industry obviously has been shakily regaining its footing after a tumultuous decade of streamers, strikes, and pandemic-induced shutdowns, causing years-long identity crises for studios trying to restore attendance. So it came as a bit of a surprise when a Minecraft movie, Warner Bros.' contribution to the children's IP adaptation trend, surpassed box office expectations after opening this past weekend. So according to Variety, the film earned $163 million domestically and $313 million globally, making it the biggest debut of 2025. But it's not just that. It's the biggest video game adaptation opening in box office history, surpassing the record previously held by, guess what movie?
What, the Mario movie?
The Super Mario Bros. Movie in 2023. So yeah, this happened.
So the first thing I want to say is I thought the movie already came out. And this is why. Because that typical online thing happened where at the very first opportunity, I think when the trailers were coming out, people were dogging this movie out so badly, and it felt like reviews were already coming out.
Yeah, when they weren't.
In my mind, the movie already happened and it was a box office flop. Mm-hmm. But now you're sitting here like, yeah, it was actually a huge hit and it did all the numbers. And I'm like, wait, what? It didn't happen? I thought we hated like Minecraft and Jack Black now.
Yeah, it's funny. It brings me back to that same internet thing that you see with so much where you are expected almost to have your opinion colored and set like before the thing comes out because of a casting choice, because of a, like just a concept in general. Like people were like, what, a Minecraft movie? This is so stupid. Like this is dumb. Like, who the fuck is gonna watch this shit?
Well, it
It's
turns
gonna
out
be
a lot of
so
people.
cringy. But as it happens, kids, families, they really like their Minecraft. Like, it's kind of the most played game or whatever by like kids right now. People were saying that there were some theaters. I remember reading a story that like the laughing got so loud at certain parts, like just of the fucking 10-year-olds, I guess, laughing about these jokes, that like the police had to come to one theater to like shut the noise down because it got that crazy. I don't know if that's true, but like I read a headline about
Somebody exaggerated.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a fire alarm got pulled.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like, we talked about it on this podcast. I think we had the same thoughts then that we kind of do now, which is that like whether or not it looks like a good movie to us or something that we would see isn't important. Because what like a bunch of, 30-year-old men think of a movie intended for kids isn't terribly important.
I've actually met a surprising number of 30-year-old Minecraft players.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're a Minecraft fan, you might as well probably just see the movie.
Yeah, I've actually underestimated just how long that game has been around.
But yeah, so I guess, but what I'm more so talking about too is just like the people who don't play Minecraft and they're just terminally online. They just kind of like hate the concept of it existing. Right. Because there's just so many of those. Like you see that with so many, like I remember actually with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, people were really angry that Chris Pratt's voicing Mario and this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And like I remember when I watched the movie, like 10 minutes in, I just forgot. Like I was just like, oh, okay, like this is just the Mario, this is his voice in this movie. Like it didn't mean anything. There was also, what was that? There's like, it's like a Pixar film, like the Elementals or...
I vaguely remember
some like movie last year. It's a kids movie.
I remember the fire person breathing fire. That's
there's like a fire person or something like that, and people were like, "This movie sucks."
Oh, I remember now. It was the fire girl and the water guy, and I think they wanted to like be together, but fire and water don't really work. And
yeah, that was the thing. Or there's also the one about like the emotions, the people like the emotions.
Oh, I like the concept of that one.
Either way. I remember people being like, "This movie sucks, ha ha!" Like Disney or Warner, or whoever fucking. I don't follow kids movies, but like whoever fucking published this, like this is so uninspired and so unoriginal. And it's like slop and it's crap and it's gonna do badly. And I remember its opening weekend was like not fantastic, and then like the following week or two, it just blew through box office numbers because that was like right before a bunch of kids got out for like summer break or something or spring break, and just families all went to see it and it ended up doing super well, and people had to like eat their words because it's a good reminder.
Wait, people don't eat their words on the internet. They just comment on something else now.
That's true. They move on. But it's like it's a good reminder that like what you see and hear on the internet, like the sentiments and the thoughts and all, like it's not necessarily reflective of reality. Like you're not always just because the internet says something's going to be bad or cringy or whatever doesn't mean it won't perform well. So
that's true.
Just a cool little thing about the Minecraft movie. Any other news?
This is actually one last gaming story for me.
Okay.
It says Ubisoft holds firm in the Crew lawsuit. They say, you don't own your video games. So this old story has come back again.
Oh my God. Okay. This is funny because Ubisoft just had a win like a few weeks ago with Assassin's Creed. Jeez,
you gotta take L's too.
Yeah.
So Ubisoft responded to California gamers' The Crew shutdown lawsuit in late February, filing to dismiss the case. The company's lawyers argued that in that filing, reviewed by Polygon, that there was no reason for players to believe they were purchasing unfettered ownership rights in the game. Ubisoft has made it clear, lawyers claimed, that when you buy a copy of The Crew, you are merely buying a limited access release.
So I guess this is just that age old. I don't even remember that much of that original lawsuit, but I guess it's just that age old like you don't own the shit you buy. Sorry, it's a license. We don't want to sell you anything.
The thing is, it's kind of a retroactive deal. The fact of the matter is, culturally, especially in the United States, when people buy things, they own it.
Yeah.
The whole like gaming through a license deal has only become a bigger deal because of things like this lawsuit, where now gaming companies are trying to make that as explicit as possible. Because I don't care what anyone says, before like this lawsuit, I fully believed I owned every game I purchased. Now, it was easy when games are physical and they weren't server based. Like my copy of Pokemon Ruby is mine. It still works, I think. And like, but it's my possession. But a game like The Crew, where Ubisoft can claim, well, you should have known you didn't own it, if you're not into like digital gaming.
Isn't
like
The Crew the one that's like always online? Is that
I believe
you like
it
drive
is
around and it's like always online or something?
It's an online like racing game.
Yeah, I know it's a racing game, and I just remember when it was announced, I think that was like kind of part of the sales pitch was just that it's like a always online.
And but people assumed, like with many games, and at least in history, most games, when you bought it, you would be able to play it for as long as you wanted to. But when they shut down The Crew servers and people found out they were just SOL, like
tits up.
Where my lawyer at? I don't feel right. I feel like I just got robbed. And it's likely in the terms and conditions when you signed up for The Crew that Ubisoft does have that hidden in there. But I don't know if a judge is actually going to agree with that. Just because of the culture of gaming up until this point.
I will say this. I think that people are finding, the common person, I think, is finding that like digital games are more convenient in a general sense to have. If you are a casual gamer or like, you kind of just go from game to game, right? Like you're not, I think people are finding that, like, just buying your games digitally, you don't have to take the trip to GameStop. You can kind of just quickly sift through them. You don't have to get up off your couch to switch games. There's a convenience there. It reminds me a lot of the conversation around privacy and convenience. Like, how people sort of talk about, like, to get the convenience of Google Maps navigating you where you want to go, you have to sacrifice the privacy of Google knows where Alec is now. Like, to some extent, like, you are sacrificing some privacy. The same goes for really, like, just even some feature where, like, this memorizes your passwords, or getting a curated, like, news or weather app means that it has to get to learn you and know some parts of your life and habits so that it can tell you, make recommendations about where to eat while you're out on vacation, or feed you, like, a news story, or just, like be like your little personal assistant, like your Google Assistant, Siri, stuff like that. Like, it has to have access to your calendar and have access to your contacts and all that stuff. So like it feels a little similar where, like, for gaming experiences, especially like The Crew, where it's like, I'm assuming this is the one that's all online. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
It was like an open world game.
You kind of just have to accept that, like, the servers are going to go down at some point. Like,
well, you can accept it, or your lawyer and the judge can decide.
Yeah. So this hasn't been decided yet. It's just like an ongoing thing.
It's an ongoing thing, and I think with we just read about Doug Bowser's feelings on the pricing of Nintendo games being based on how much you play them. I think when a game like The Crew is released, where the intention for the game is to be online, it's supposed to be open world, you're supposed to be able to play it for an amount of time. Yeah. You as a gamer don't get to know that, but you're expected to pay full price for it. I think, at least in my opinion, and it's not a lawyer's opinion, I don't know the law, but with games like this, it's probably going to be better that if companies give an expected lifespan for games,
that would be
before you purchase them.
That would be interesting.
If a game is progressively online and they know damn well that the server, when this game is done, the server's going to go down, to protect themselves from liability or whatever other lawsuits want to come out of it, games should have expected lifespans where, hey, this game has an expected lifespan of 10 years. That means this game will not shut down for at least 10 years.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to want that liability. They wouldn't want to say it anyway.
Yeah, well, I think by not saying it, they open themselves up to some issues with different courts and in different countries. Every court system is a little bit different. Because like they can even say something like, the expected lifespan for this game is 6 years, and this game will have to operate for at least those 6 years. It may operate for longer.
So that's a distinction. Do you think that they will say the expected lifespan is approximately like 5 years, or do you think they'll say we are making a promise that it will last 5 years? because that's like two different things.
I mean, it is two different things, but I do think
they don't have a problem with the former, but probably not the latter.
True.
Because like you're right. Like I think that's actually the idea that like, hey, this is going to be. You know what? When I think about it, I don't think that they would want it to. They would even want to say like an amount of time so explicitly. I think they would try to soften that up a little bit.
They don't want to give time, but I think they should have to. And that does two things.
Okay.
One, it's consumer protection. When we buy a game, but if it has a explicit time limit on it, or at least a period of time,
a minimum
on it,
guaranteed,
then I know that for this amount of time, I have this game to play and I get to have a good time. And as long as I'm within this window, this game has to be available for me. So this is a protected purchase. But the second part is I think that will make the live service gaming industry less interesting to the gaming, or the live service market as interesting to the gaming industry at large, because now you don't get to just freely pump out free to play game, because you have to commit to every single one, and those servers have to stay up because so many live service titles. And now the crew lasted for a minute. 10 years is not a short amount of time for gaming.
Yeah,
but a lot of live service games, they can barely make their first year.
It's funny because like there's a weird part of me that almost says like the person who's saying that the crew's shutting down after 10 years or whatever, they really should have fucking known.
I mean, they should have.
Like, I will still stand on the side of like, it sucks, you know, I get it. That's still like the little guy versus the big company thing, but it's just like, it's been like 10 years, bro. Like, fucking come on. But anyway.
Hey, look, they said we can accept it, or I can see what my lawyer has to say about it.
I will be interested in seeing where this leads, because I like your idea of like kind of having to at least say that this is going to be like an ongoing game, and maybe factoring that into the buying process somehow.
I think while maybe it doesn't work in this California state court system, but it feels like one of those things that like the European Union would just
they would hop on this.
They would codify it immediately.
You gotta tell people,
you want to sell in Europe, give us a date.
Like, it's time to maybe do a little bit of pot.
Yeah, let's go.
Or I guess do a little bit of marshmallow. If that was.
What if we just had marshmallows?
Some marshmallows
and the questions are on them.
Yeah, and there's a little fire, and we roast the marshmallows and we answer them.
Oh, we can't see the question now. It's burnt.
These are the viewer submitted questions. If you guys ever want to, you can always submit them down at the link below. Although we might have to change that soon, because when I was going through the little spreadsheet where it has all the answers, it got kind of messed up today.
The spreadsheet was weird.
So I don't know how that's going to go. But anyway, I added them to our keep note, so you can read a question.
I don't want to read any.
They're
so long.
We've got 2 questions this week because we're drawing 2. We're trying to do just like 2 so as to save time. Our manager, aka Alec, said that he hates how long you guys' questions are, and he hates that you write them in. So I guess we can't do anymore.
Paul is selling a tale here. You guys don't have to believe it. There is a small grain of truth. I won't lie. Where? I don't know why I don't have the keep note up.
Yeah, it's called podcast questions.
Yeah, I don't have it.
You should still share it with you.
No, I think I may have accidentally deleted it.
Okay.
Because I just don't see it.
All right, well, I got it. Okay. So, the first question today comes from Lost Geek 1989.
What up, Lost Geek?
Do you think Konami, or whoever runs things, that's funny, should up the age rating for the card game? Example, from 6 and up to maybe 13 and up, considering the huge understanding one has to have for each card effect?
I think for Yu-Gi-Oh players, sure. But I think for the like logistics and some of the legality of selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I think they have to keep it at that age for some reason. I don't know the exact
there's
reason.
Probably something to do with, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm sure it has something to do with, some fees, some sort of like, I don't know.
There's a lot that gets tied into those age ratings.
But ignoring all of that, like taking the boring bureaucracy stuff out, I think it should be like 13 plus. Maybe not 13 plus, sorry. I think it should be older than 6+. I just simply do not see a 6-year-old actually being able to understand how to effectively play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Someone's gonna hop in the comments like, "Oh, well, my 6-year-old brother wants to smoke." Then you get absolutely filleted by the nastiest 6-year-old you've ever seen with a 60 card pile.
It's funny you actually mentioned that. So I did see that there were Dragon Duelists at YCS Houston, and there were a couple of things. They have, I think, increased the Dragon Duelist age to 13 now instead of 12.
Some tall Dragon Duelists.
But you can be, I think, 14 if your like birthday falls within a certain kind of time frame around which the World Championship and stuff works. Like it's basically so people don't get aged out. So that was cool. I met a couple of different Dragon Duelists. Some were really frighteningly good, it seemed, at the game. Some were really young. Like some were, I mean, I did see some like what looked like maybe 7 or 8-year-olds just kind of slapping cards on a mat, like a paper mat, like with their baby hands and just,
I do remember when we were in Germany, because they also had Dragon Duelists there as well for that Worlds. What, 2019 Worlds?
Yeah.
I remember when we were in Germany, there were Dragon Duelists there, and some of them were they looked quite young, but I'm assuming it's Worlds, they had to have been sharks, like each and every one of them.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought that was kind of interesting. If you had to put an age on a new age on like Yu-Gi-Oh packs, like I said, a 6+, what would you say would be the age? Like, I'm feeling 10.
I'm thinking 21, but 18 if you have 5 o'clock shadow.
Damn.
I look. It's just because for me personally, Yu-Gi-Oh is such a beast now, and I probably mentally slowed as I've aged, just ever so slightly. And then taking a break from Yu-Gi-Oh has made things a bit topsy-turvy for me as far as getting back into the game. But I honestly feel sometimes like I need a drink after like practicing and playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and you got to be 21 at least in the States to drink. So that's why I settled on 21. Yeah. And then I said 18 for 5 o'clock if you have 5 o'clock shadow, because in some places if you got 5 o'clock shadow as an 18-year-old, they might not card you.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, I would say like 10 years old. I think like you can play for like 7 or 8 or 9. I just don't think that like you'd be really able to like, get through a tournament without some assistance. I don't know. Like I might be, this is going to sound bad, but I don't really have, I guess, a good barometer of like how smart a kid is at age 8 versus 11. Like I don't know.
We should let Jesse Cotton decide.
He was a Dragon Duelist.
He was a Dragon Duelist.
He came from Dragon Duelist.
And there's that famous story of him smoking a child on stream.
That's true. So, like, I mean,
I think if anyone knows how good kids are at Yu-Gi-Oh, Jesse Cotton, he's the pro.
He's got a good set of circumstances to decide. I mean, I'm just going to say like 10. Maybe we'll be generous and say like 9+. But I don't think a 6-year-old is going to understand modern Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, it's a little bit too much, it's a little too crazy. And also, like, the culture that comes with it of, like, buying, selling, like some of that. I feel like that might be a little bit much. Like,
well, hopefully if they're 6, their parent is there like every step of the way. I would hope you're not just turning your 6-year-olds loose at Yu-Gi-Oh regionals or YCSs. Like, have at it.
I'm sure it's happened.
What was I thinking of? Oh, I lost it. That might come back to me later.
Well, the next question comes from our fan Jordan. He says,
"What up, Jordan?
Since you guys are big Final Fantasy fans, and since you're the only podcast out there, I was just wondering what Final Fantasy games have you both played, and what would be your top 3 if you have at least 3 that you've played?
Games that we've both played, or like
I guess either of us, really, because you've played more of them than me, I assume.
I played a few.
I am a big Final Fantasy fan. However, I always tell people that I am a modern Final Fantasy fan, not because I dislike the old classic kind of Final Fantasy games, but literally because I did not play them. I only started playing Final Fantasy with 13, which is already a divisive place to start from, because a lot of people kind of don't love that one. And so unfortunately, like my 3 favorites are kind of boring. It's basically 13, 14, and like 15. So I know, to be clear, I can gush about each of them for ages. You can,
guys, don't get them started.
And like my very favorite is 13.
Like Paul can do a whole other podcast.
Yeah, we can have like 13. A Final Fantasy podcast. But yeah, like, so my answer is a little bit dull in that way. What about you, though?
So my Final Fantasy journey started with 7, but then it got weird because I emulated the first Final Fantasy 1, when I was a kid. Just because I was just getting into emulation, and that was one of the games I can get my hands on. I remember I played through that, loved it to hell and back. I really did love like old 8-bit like JRPG style games. I remember playing that in Dragon Quest a lot. But then it went from Final Fantasy 7 to Dissidia, which helped fill in the gap of a lot of the older Final Fantasy
I
titles.
bet that would have been a good one, yeah.
Because it covers pretty much, at that time, all the Final Fantasies in some way or another. And even though I didn't play those games, because I played their characters in Dissidia, then I went and wiki-dived all of them and loved them all to hell and back. Then it's 7, so it's 7, Dissidia, 12, because I want to say that was the current Final Fantasy at the time, 12, 10, which I didn't finish 10-2. I started playing a friend's copy of 10-2, so I only finished playing 10. Mm-hmm. And then it goes 14, 15, and 16, right?
And there's also like the 7 remake and rebirth.
Oh yeah,
which I guess
7
are kinda
remake
in there.
and rebirth.
I forgot to mention those because those do stand in a weird spot when you think about it, because like they're technically part of the modern era of Final Fantasy, though they are like, you know, I guess remakes of an older game.
Oh, and there's the mobile games. I played.
Yeah, you've played more of the mobile stuff.
What's it called?
Or all of it.
Visions,
I haven't played any.
something. I forgot the name of that game, but I played that one quite
What's
a bit.
the music one?
Oh,
Theater Rhythm?
it has a weird name that I can't pronounce off. Like,
okay,
I can't pronounce it off memory. But I know which one you're talking about. I played Strangers of Paradise. I didn't finish it, but I did play it.
Also, I know you told me about like, Crisis Core and.
Oh, I love Crisis.
What's the other one?
Dirge of Cerberus.
So.
I didn't love Dirge of Cerberus as much, mostly because my copy it glitched. There was a point in the game. It was fairly early in. I was playing. You play as Vincent in Dirge of Cerberus. I went into a wall and I couldn't escape.
Oh, okay. So you just got yourself like bugged in.
Yeah. I was stuck.
Well, I would say, now that I'm thinking about it, I know my very all-time favorite one is 13. Mm-hmm. I also played 13-2. I guess I should have probably mentioned that. Like the game 13-2, not 13-2. I'd say like my top 3 now that I think about it. It's still probably just 13, 14, and 15. But I really have enjoyed the remake and rebirth games a lot. Those were they're very well made. They're very good on like the fan service. Just production values are really good. And 16's pretty cool. It's a little off. It's a little weird, like for a Final Fantasy game, but I don't think it's
not normal.
But I don't think it's bad. I think it just kind of missed the mark in some ways.
So my favorite Final Fantasy game, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Dissidia, because I played both Dissidia 1 and Dissidia Duodecim. That was just, it gets my number 1 spot purely for introducing me to all of what Final Fantasy was at the time, and that really got me into playing other Final Fantasy games. And it's a fighting game. It's more actiony, so with story. So I love that game. I replayed the hell out of it. So it goes Dissidia. Then I'll give it to Final Fantasy 7. Long as hell, but worth every minute of it. And that's the original. I like remake. I don't love the remakes. It's
complicated.
And then I'll give my 3rd slot to Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of memories with that game.
I've never played a Final Fantasy game as long as I played Final Fantasy 14. Yes, it's an MMO, rules are different, but it still wins in that regard. But just because those are my top 3, I'm not taking anything away from any other Final Fantasy game. I love 10. I love 12. Like, the only Final Fantasy game I didn't like was War of the Visions. That was the name of the mobile game.
Okay, I've never.
I spent a lot of money on War of the Visions.
So you kind of liked it at least a bit. You're spending money.
Yeah, but then I hate it myself. Oh wait, no, that was Brave Exvius. That's the one I hated. War of the Visions I enjoyed.
Did you ever play? What was the was it the First Soldier? Did you play that?
I did play the first Soldier.
Oh, that one got shut down.
I played so many
Yeah, you played a
random
lot.
Final Fantasy titles.
I know there's also like Ever Crisis is the one that's running right now.
I did play Ever Crisis as well. I couldn't get... So I can't really get into gacha style games of major IPs where I'm not actually pulling new and unique characters.
It's
I'm
just
pulling
so many skins
the same
of them.
characters in different outfits. I don't hate those games. I just can't get into them.
Well, normally...
The first Soldier was fun.
Normally, this would be where we would end the podcast. But as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have saved this week's review for the end because this is a somewhat more critical review of the podcast. And I thought that would be fun and
here we go.
illuminating to discuss it live
All
with
right, guys, you're going to see us take negative criticism live.
This is from the aptly named 6239. That's his username, UGH6239. He says, checking out after 100.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, guys, but you've become way too pessimistic about the modern game. You constantly complain about things that you, as influencers, should seemingly have some level of control over. Your discussions aren't really all that pleasant anymore, and your ideas for improvement are weak and stale. Maybe focus your energy on how great past formats or past card designs were. Maybe bring on more guests with fresh ideas on how to improve the meta or challenge it with rogue strategies that aren't immediately copied by everyone. But until that time, I bestow this rating of 1 star in the hopes that it will light a fire under your... And he has donkeys with an S, a donkey emoji.
Oh, ass.
Ass, yeah.
Oh, man.
So, thank you for the feedback, first of all.
Man,
I say that unsarcastically, I appreciate hearing the feedback about it.
My instinct is to react very negatively to this feedback, but it's kind of hard to when it's someone who's listened for 100 episodes.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was gonna say.
If this was like a one and doneer, then I could like flame them. But like these were their honest feelings after 100 episodes, so I feel like that is worth some due.
Yeah. So appreciate the feedback. I do have thoughts though. I think that
Yu-Gi-Oh needs a reboot. No.
Well, we talk about that sometimes. I do think that like maybe some of the expectations around what it is that we talk about and sort of the feelings we have on it might be a little bit misunderstood. So what I mean by that is a lot of the times I think where our maybe complaints or negative opinions about Yu-Gi-Oh tend to come in is typically, if I'm remembering, it's typically kind of like when we're answering viewer questions.
Right.
And usually viewer questions will be like, how would you improve something? Or like, what do you think of the state of something? Or do you think that they've gone too far with this or not done enough with this aspect of the game? And so that's not to, shift the blame to the listeners, the people asking the questions. It's your fault that we're negative. It's more like typically what we're doing is kind of more so inspecting the game, like inspecting an issue or a complaint that people have. And I know that that can mean that like the conversation will not really necessarily be pleasant by default because we're kind of operating under a starting point of like, talk about how you would improve this, which kind of implies that it is like wrong from the get-go. So that's what I would say. But what about you?
So I want to speak to our conversations being stale. I actually don't think is 100% wrong on that because we get a lot of samey questions about Yu-Gi-Oh, and so
he's
we
blaming
give
you guys.
a lot of
I'm kidding.
We give a lot of samey answers because honestly, like only recently have I started playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh again, and so my opinions about the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh and how to fix Yu-Gi-Oh haven't really changed or evolved very much in the last 100 episodes because I really wasn't doing it, and that's a personal failing on my part where I do think, at least in my case, I need to
engage
more so I can develop more ideas and solutions so I'm not always repeating the same topics.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that. That's actually part of my decision to go to YCS Houston was, some people had like said like, oh, Paul, you should go. It'd be cool. And like, I did want to meet people and stuff, but I did want to get a look at what is the upper level experience of Yu-Gi-Oh look like right now. Like I said at the front, I hadn't been to a YCS in 5 years. A lot's changed since COVID in terms of just the community, the expectations, the way the game is played. And I wanted to see with my own two eyes what YCSs do look like now, like what the game is like, how it's talked about. And I really tried to make a point of like talking to people about it. Random people who'd recognize me or whatever, I would just kind of like hop into Google crowds of conversations and be like, hey, like, what do you guys think this ban list is going to be like? Like, what are you feeling about the game? How are you happy with this? Could this be improved? Like, I'm more interested really in what other people think about things, oftentimes more than like even what I think about things. I've always said that I think that this is maybe a hot take towards some of my contemporaries, like who are in the YugiTube kind of content space. I think that all YugiTubers are kind of overrated. I don't think that. And when I say overrated, I don't think that the content's bad or anything. But
hey,
more
you hear
like
that, Sam?
Yeah, it's more like the opinions that YouTubers have about things. I sometimes think like people take it almost too seriously. A YouTuber is just the same as you. Like, I have some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I have some Yu-Gi-Oh decks. I've got stuff I like. I got stuff I don't like. I have cards I've bought, cards I won't buy. Like, I don't have any crazy accolades to my name. I haven't won a YCS. Like, I'm really no more qualified to talk about anything than anyone else is.
Well, I mean, Jesse Cotton is a YugiTuber, so...
Yeah, maybe he is. I guess, yeah, his opinion means a little bit. But, so I guess when I say that, I just mean that remember that, like, ultimately, it's just, like, people's opinions talking about a game they like.
And think of us less of these monolithic beings, and think of us as more like people at your card shop. We know about as much as they do. Our opinions are just as valuable, which is to say not all that
it's
much.
Just it's the opinion of a single person. Regarding, like if it feels maybe too negative or like we're kind of just samey about stuff. Yeah, like Alex said, I mean, a lot of the questions, like I sift through loads of viewer questions and people do ask a lot of the same things. Like, do you think that there should be a summoning limit in Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you think that they should change the rarity system in Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you think they should have a rotation format? I mean, we talked about that just like a week or two ago. So, like, if people ask, I'm trying to engage or trying to answer the question. Sometimes that does mean it's a bit of a, beating a dead horse.
But, after 100 episodes, it's probably about time I, like, learn something new about this game so that, I don't, even if I get samey questions, you don't have to get the same.
Yeah, we can have different perspectives. And I guess the last thing I'll add too is that's also why I'm glad, and people told me this weekend at the YCS that I met, is like they liked hearing more hot takes, more like of the spicier things that we have to say that, maybe they find that some of the most riveting stuff. And also a lot of people like the non-Yu-Gi-Oh discussions. Just, talking about games, talking about anime, talking about AI.
That's actually one of the reasons why we don't just talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, because our time with Yu-Gi-Oh is limited, and the majority of the time we were going to spend with Yu-Gi-Oh has actually already happened. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to have an entire podcast about a game where we're kind of over the hill with.
Yeah, and I don't say that in a bad way. It's not like we're saying, oh, we're going to quit or whatever.
No, it's
more like, we've made like a lot of videos and discussions and things about Yu-Gi-Oh! There's just not that much new ground to tread. So oftentimes with this podcast, it's kind of more like, here's a new development that is happening and kind of here's what we think about it. And that's like it. Like there's,
Like my best years in Yu-Gi-Oh! Were between the years of 2014 and 2018-19. Those were my good years. And from me, you're going to hear the opinions of someone who played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! In those years.
Yeah.
I'm trying to change it up a little bit because I want to start giving different takes, because like how some people like hot takes, I like giving hot takes. But I need to learn more so I can keep giving them.
So yeah, we appreciate the feedback, seriously. Hopefully, if you've watched for 100 episodes,
maybe you can make it through.
Then maybe you can make it through this one more, just so you can hear this response. to your comment, but I do think that it was well-meaning. I think that it is a mistake, and this is for anybody who does content creation or whatever. It's a mistake to assume that every content or every comment is like just hating. Like there's a little bit of truth to even some of the nastiest things you'll read. I've learned that.
True.
Like, so cool.
Yeah, and to let us know that you heard our message, go ahead and hit that button to become a member of the channel, and
Right,
that's how
yeah.
we'll know.
Yeah, that's the only way you can tell us.
That's how we'll know
the only way
that you heard us.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's episode of The Pot of Greed. Once again, it was wonderful meeting all of you this past weekend at YCS Houston. For the few of you who might be at an upcoming convention this weekend called C2E2 in Chicago, Illinois, we will be there as well. I'll be there along with Alec and also Alex. There. So yeah, there's that, and we should be, us and more of us should be at Yu-Gi-Oh's Nationals as well in Indianapolis this summer. So a few more opportunities to meet us alongside any number of other conventions and things we might go to. But yeah, if you're around this weekend, that'd be cool. Come say hi. We don't bite.
Not too much.
Yeah, not too much. So yeah, it's going to be it. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Pass turn.